down in the Q&A box, and we'll do some quick shout outs until everyone gets here. All right. I see New Jersey. I see Charlotte. I see Dallas. Ooh, that's my territory. Los Angeles, NYC. Welcome, welcome. LA, again, Atlanta, Charlottesville, Maryland, Phoenix. Wow, hello. Massachusetts, San Francisco, Sarasota, Florida. Hello. Lewisburg, PA. That's one you don't see every day. Welcome. Thank you for coming by. Claremont, Helsinki, Finland. That is certainly a new one. Grand Rapids, Michigan, Silver Spring, Maryland. Welcome, welcome. Connecticut. We'll just give it a few more seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Shout out to Staten Island.
You wanted to shout that out.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, looks like numbers are starting to stabilize, so we will jump right in. Hello, welcome to the Explore Bowdoin information session for round 2. My name is Kyra Green. I'm an assistant dean of admissions at Bowdoin and so excited to have you with us. The way this will work tonight is we'll do some quick introductions. Stefan will then guide you through a very quick presentation. We'll then do a 15-minute or so Q&A with our 2 interns, Alex and Layla, who will then head out as they have another meeting at 8:30, and then you'll hang back with Stefan and I, and we can answer any admissions or other questions you may have. So let's do some introductions, and then Stefan, you can take it away.
Okay.
My name is Layla. I use she, her, hers. I'm a senior here at Bowdoin. I'm from Boston, originally the actual city, which is exciting. I'm a government and education coordinate major with an Africana studies minor. I work in admissions, obviously, as one of the EB interns. I also am on residential life here at Bowdoin, and I'm one of the captains of our mock trial team.
You want me to go?
Go for it.
My name's Alex. I'm also a senior. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm from right outside of Chicago, and I'm a government major and a history minor, and some things I do outside of classroom are residential life as well. I also do a lot with the college house system, which is kind of like an alternative to Greek life, and then I also do a lot with Bowdoin government, and as Layla also said, stuff with admissions like tour guide, and also interning for Kyra and Stefan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stefan Gales. I'm an admissions counselor for Bowdoin College. I'm so excited to see all my territory folks from Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, that nice coast of Cape Cod from Massachusetts, as well as Georgia. Hello to all of you. And I'm also from Boston as well as Layla. So that's pretty exciting. But we'll talk in a couple minutes.
Stefan, you want to throw the slideshow up?
Oh, yes, definitely. I didn't know if you wanted to introduce yourself again. I was, you know.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, everybody. Let's get started. As I'm giving my presentation this evening, definitely feel free to start using that Q&A box to go ahead and write any questions that you have. And everybody, Kyra, Alex, and Layla will jump in and answer some of your questions as I go through it. And I'll be brief, definitely. But from the comfort of your homes, welcome to Bowdoin College, a small selective liberal arts college. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about Bowdoin first, and then we'll dive right into Explore Bowdoin, the different opportunities that we have for you coming up in the next coming weeks, but then also different ways you can get involved and get to know Bowdoin just a little bit more. So our historic campus is about 210 acres of land. And I say that all just to let you know that though we are small, we are mighty. There are many things to do at Bowdoin. We roughly have right around 2,000 students on our campus each year, with each class having only 500 students per class, which I think is really great for if you're interested in small class sizes, really getting to know your professors and your community and everybody who you'll be working with, but also make those lifelong connections and network with many of your peers who will be in all of your classes. I think that this picture does a really great job of just showing the network of pathways that we have, not only physically, but with other people that you'll meet. And you'll see students always hustling and bustling from class to class, from the residence halls to the dining halls, but also taking scooters and maybe riding around just to get a breath of fresh air. And it's just a great experience to have on our campus. I would say that each student that we have and each student that we admit are unique individuals who just have the same love of being a change agent all across our world and all across our society, but they also have an enthusiasm to learn more. And that's why they come to us, to get a rigorous education and to really challenge themselves beyond the thresholds that they already know that they have. And so to understand what makes Bowdoin special, I think you should know that we're in Maine. Many of you probably know that already, but it's always good to know the location where a school is at. And so Bowdoin is within the coastal town of Brunswick, Maine, which is about 70 miles of coastline. So I don't know if any of you, I saw California in there. If any of you are really interested in being on the water, there are definitely some local beaches as well as coastline for you to go ahead and surf. There's a lot of opportunities to kayak, but there's also a lot of opportunities for our students who are interested in the sciences as well. But I'll talk about that in a moment. So many of you will be flying to Maine from all across our nation, and for many, some are international as well. And so we have a airport, the Portland Jetport, not too far away from us, only about 30 minutes. So there is definitely a way for you to get home and back, but also for you to get a chance to study abroad or to go visit any friends that you might have in Boston or any folks that you might know in New York City. There are so many ways of travel, whether it be Amtrak train or bus, just so many different ways to get around. But the town of Brunswick does have its own great things that come with it, like local coffee shops, restaurants, small businesses that we do support at the college. And so if you're thinking about wanting to get a little bit out of the city and kind of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but you want to be able to stay in a place that really does care about their community, Bowdoin is definitely that place. I always say when I'm on my visits that you won't see a lot of McDonald's or a lot of Burger King or a lot of all of that stuff in our town. You'll see a lot of deli shops, a lot of Indian cuisine or Thai cuisine and all the different eclectic blends that come with it. So if that is definitely up your alley, that's good to know. So as I mentioned, if you're into the environmental sciences or just being outdoors at all, we do have the Schiller Coastal Studies Center, which is just about 15 minutes away from our campus. It's currently undergoing, yes, even amidst the pandemic, it's currently undergoing renovations to have lodging available for students to stay there, as well as dining services and additional laboratory spaces. We've seen that a lot of students really do gravitate to working with their hands and being hands-on. So if any of those come to mind, if you want to be in an environment that is actively working, the Schiller Coastal Study Center is definitely a place for you. And so that, like I said, right there on the coast. And so if you're interested, a lot of our students do research opportunities. So I know many of you might want to do some research at Bowdoin. An example of that would be if you want to look at water treatment and the differences between that on our coast in comparison to if you flew back home to California and wanted to test the waters there. There are so many different ways to get involved and so many different ways to research at Bowdoin. We can talk a little bit more about that as well. So these are typically some of our most attended majors at Bowdoin. And so they're not ranked in any order. These are just some of the most popular majors that we offer. And so for the past, I guess, over 225 years now, we've really attracted students and faculty alike who really do recognize that there are things happening at Bowdoin, that there are so many different ways to branch out and so many different things to study. I think that a lot of our students who are interested in neuroscience, interested in economics and mathematics and government and legal studies all are thinking about the future, are thinking about what they're able to do beyond Bowdoin as graduate students or even in the future and how they're going to benefit the greater good. So this is, or the common good, I should say, for Bowdoin. But these are some of the great majors that we have, just to list a few that many of you might be interested in. And most of this, like I said, happens outside of the classroom. It can happen from an off-campus study adventure. It can happen with study abroad, or it can happen right on our campus. But I think that it's very unique to us to have so many of these majors offered and so many of them available for you. And so I guess I really just want to say that our students really do understand that the work that we do here is big and is challenging, and that's why we, as admissions counselors, Kyra and I really are looking for those students who really care about where they're going and aren't afraid to challenge the ideas that they already have, aren't afraid of thinking about new perspectives and getting new viewpoints based on what their peers might suggest in conversation. And that's what makes our students, I guess, the happiest when they're on our campus. So let's talk about the application for a little bit. Let's talk about the Explore Bowdoin application that you guys have. So the first thing that you should know about the application process, and this goes for the Bowdoin application as well, is grades matter. We do want to see that students are challenging themselves, and we do that without having to look at your income. And so for all of our students who are U.S. citizens, permanent residents, and undocumented students, that means that you're able to come to Explore Bowdoin, but also come to Bowdoin as well without having to give any extra money out of your pocket. We want to be able to look and see that you're challenging yourself with your grades. And the other side, which is heart, really does come down to, what are you doing outside in the community? What are you doing to benefit all of the people around you? How are you going above and beyond in your area? We want to be able to see that you're already doing things at your school, but that you also bring some things to happen on our campus at Bowdoin. And so that's what we're looking for. As I mentioned, income is not in the equation, so that's why you don't see any red. And then testing is optional. At Bowdoin, we have been test optional since we landed on the moon 51 years ago. And so with that being said, definitely understand that submitting testing is totally up to you. It's not something that you are required to do. Our incoming class, only about 30% of them chose to be test optional, and they still came and joined us. So I know that many of you will be thinking about applying test optional, and that's totally up to you. But I did want to let you know that it's not foreign. People definitely make that decision for themselves. Something that's not on here, but is included in the Explore Bowdoin application is the graded paper. One thing that we ask for is a graded paper. So that's something that has been graded by a teacher with teacher notes, comments, as well as the grade on there, just so we get a little bit more about you. During this time, we want to learn as much about you as we can through the application process, and that's one of the best ways to do it. If you might not be able to have a graded paper ready right now, you're able to submit another short answer. We have the short answer section available, once again, to get to know you a little bit more as a student, but also get you thinking about the different ways that you kind of inspire others, or the different ways that other people have impacted you in your life. It's very introspective, but it's a great opportunity to really just showcase who you are and what makes you you. So this is the application deadline, as well as when the program is going to be going on. So the application deadline is quickly approaching, so keep that in mind. But we do really want all of you to join us if you can. So the application deadline is September 18th, just so that can be said. But the program, the Explore Bowdoin 2, Session 2, will be happening October 18th through the 24th. And the URL right there at the bottom will get you access to us. But also, if you go to our admissions page, you can be able to sign up for Explore Bowdoin there as well. And so when we think about the resources, what's going to be happening during Explore Bowdoin? How are we going to be able to, what are you going to be doing? I guess is another big question of what you'll be able to do. So all of these resources will be covered in the whole week that you're with us and sharing your time. You will talk to a variety of people from Thrive to learn about the Jeffrey Canada Scholars Program. You'll talk to first-year deans who will be able to let you know what a typical first year at Bowdoin looks like. But many of you might be thinking about what does advising look like? Specifically, what is, if I'm thinking about taking a pre-med track, what will that look like? You'll be able to talk to one of our colleagues, Seth Ramus, who is in charge of the health professions advising program, who can tell you about what that track would look like. But you'll also get to meet some great students, some great current students who are a part of different clubs and organizations on our campus, and they'll be able to share more with you about what life is like as a student and what things are going on after academics have happened during the day. What kind of things can you be a part of later on in the day or even on the weekends? And so we also will talk to a couple people about residential life. You'll meet a lot of people in the Multicultural Center for Life. You'll meet so many people to even talk about the Common Good Center, which is focused for mentoring and volunteering and all of that good stuff. So you'll, once again, be full. You will get as much resources as you can to learn about Bowdoin. And we really don't want you to take these sessions lightly. They're really able to not only help you at Bowdoin, but help you throughout your life as well. So these are just another little group of people who will be a part of the program. And one thing that we're really excited to offer this year is the mentoring program. So you will be paired with an admissions officer like Kyra and myself who really are a part of this process, who are part of the application process and really want you to be as equipped as you can going into the rest of your fall time at school. What things are needed, what things will you want to have in your application, but they'll also have conversations with you about the discussions you had with faculty. They want to care, they really do care, and they really want to know what you're going to be doing and help you get a little bit more excited during the week as well. You'll meet alumni from Bowdoin, you'll meet so many different people, and they're just one of those people, and you'll be in groups to be able to talk with them a little bit more about what's available. And parents will not be left out. Your parents will be able to sit in on a couple information sessions, as well as a few student aid sessions to learn about what the application process looks like from a parent side as well. So let your parents know that when you are accepted to Explore Bowdoin, they also are accepted as well, and they get some resources and get to have some fun with us as well. And so these are a few testimonials that we have from some of the students that have joined us, some of the great things that they said. But I guess I'm going to open it up. I'll leave this up for a little bit longer, but I'm going to open it up for some questions to be answered from our interns.
All right, so we have a lot of questions and not a ton of time for our interns to hang with us, so we will jump right to it. So one of the questions asks about what concerns you may have had as a first year. What fears did you have, whether it's about housing or moving away from home, and how did you overcome those fears? So Layla or Alex, feel free to jump right in.
Sure. I think I was initially worried about leaving the city and coming to like a small town in Maine. But it turns out it's not so small and there is plenty to do. And I feel like getting away to a nice place with a lot of nature and a lot of outside space has been really great. And I've been able to kind of do a lot that I wouldn't have if I had just stayed in the city. So I've definitely taken some risks, gone on some trips with our Bowdoin Outing Club, which goes to various trips all over Maine. I also think like managing your time in college can be really difficult, especially your first year, but Bowdoin is equipped with a lot of resources, including pre-major advisors, professors, obviously, and then a bunch of tutoring centers on campus, including the Baldwin Center for Learning and Teaching. So there's a lot of resources to help you kind of manage that and figure out how to organize your schedule so you're being productive and still having time for yourself.
Thank you.
Everything.
I'm going to shoot you a new question, Alex, to maximize your time. Can you tell us a bit about something you wish you knew about Bowdoin or possible advice you wish someone had told you before arriving?
Yeah, I think honestly just like come with an open mind and like see what's out there and not just like come in kind of like knowing what you're going to do, because you know there are going to be a lot of people that know what they want to do, but in general, like I think when you keep your mind open to all the possibilities out there, you'll make the most out of your Bowdoin experience. And so I found myself doing things that I probably never thought of like doing at Bowdoin before coming here. And so I think in general, like a lot of my advice to kind of those coming to Bowdoin or just in general if you're looking into college in general is like keep an open mind and all the possibilities that come to you, like take advantage of those.
Perfect. Thank you. Our next question is about academics. Do you feel academically challenged in your time at Bowdoin? You both are nodding your head, so feel free to take it away.
Absolutely, very academically challenged. And I also find that obviously since you get to pick the classes that you're taking here, it's things that interest you. But you can also take classes out of your comfort zone that just sound exciting. So I definitely have challenged myself, have a lot of reading, a lot of papers, but I feel like I have really gained an understanding of the topics that I have taken classes in.
Alex, anything to add?
No, I totally agree. It's like Bowdoin classes are going to be very rigorous, but at the same time, you have a lot of support, and the professors are going to be super understanding. And in general, like your friends are going to be there. You have TAs. You have a lot of just support all around you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So our next question is, let's see. Someone asked what's your curriculum like. So can you tell us what classes you're taking right now?
Sure. I am taking a sociology class called Latinx in the United States. I'm taking U.S. foreign policy. I'm taking a Berlin film class. Also, Alex is in half these classes. So I'm also taking, what's my last class? Oh, urban education and community organizing.
Yeah, as Layla stated, we have 2 classes together. So I'm with her in the Berlin film class, U.S. foreign policy, and then the next 2 you're going to notice a trend, U.S. Civil War and U.S. Congress. So yeah, very fun.
Perfect. What would you say are your top 3 favorite things about Bowdoin?
Food, professors, admission staff.
Yeah. No, it's definitely people first. Then I think like the place, like Maine is really beautiful, and I think also like Bowdoin's very quirky in terms of like the buildings, and like all of them look different, and everyone like every building has its like own special characteristics. I think the third thing is just like I don't know, it's like really hard to like pinpoint, but also like admissions. I love admissions.
We love you back. All right. So before you all head out, let's answer one more question from you all.
Do a couple. We have like 5 minutes-ish.
All right, let's make it happen. So the question about advising, what does that look like? What help is in place for you to pick your major, find your courses, those types of things?
Yeah, so when you first get here, you're assigned a pre-major advisor. So it can be in any department that you kind of list as one of your interests. Mine was in the dance department, and I didn't end up studying dance at all, but it was great having her sort of advisement and having her as like a friend and professor that I could talk to when I needed her. But basically, she makes sure that I'm on track to finish all of the distribution requirements for the liberal arts while also taking classes that might guide me in what sort of major that I want. And then once you declare your major, which is your sophomore spring, you get an advisor for each department that you're in. So I have one for Gov, one for Education, one for Africana Studies. And they are just there to kind of help you make sure you're on track to finish the requirements, but also there is like people to talk to, network with, and just like great people in general.
Perfect. All right, Alex, can you talk a bit about the core curriculum? What are the distribution requirements? What might that look like for students?
Yeah, so I think Bowdoin is very flexible in terms of kind of what you need to do to graduate. In terms of kind of the core curriculum, you have 5 different distribution requirements, and these are kind of like 5 different broad categories in which you need to complete like one class in, and you have all 4 years to do that. 2 of them are more in kind of like the humanities. 2 of them are kind of in the STEM, and 1 is more of like a creative art, dance, music, theater class. And so all in all, you're going to learn a lot from just these distribution requirements, because you're kind of forced, you know, if you're not like a science person or if you're not like a math person, to kind of like take a class in that and like really expand your horizons. But also beyond that, you also have your first year seminar, which is the first thing you kind of accomplished in the fall of your first year. And it is really important in terms of being a small class, which is seminar based, meaning that the professor is not lecturing, they're here to moderate and they're here to add on to the discussion, and you really get to know your fellow classmates and professors really well. But yeah, in general, you have 32 classes or 32 credits that you need to kind of accomplish before graduating, and only like 6 of those are basically your kind of core curriculum, and then you also have your major, and so lots of wiggle room for other classes that you want to take.
Perfect. All right. Our next question asks if you can talk a bit about what it's like to be at a small school, specifically asking about whether it ever feels cliquey or too small. Yeah, can you answer that for our guests?
Yeah, I was surprised to see that it doesn't feel as small as I was expecting. My high school is actually 2,500 students, so I was kind of nervous about coming to a smaller school. But I still walk around and find people that I don't know, have never seen before, and this happens like every day, which I think is great. I haven't really found Bowdoin to be super cliquey. I feel like a lot of there are, of course, friend groups which happen everywhere, but they overlap and tend to just have a lot of like people meshing together, which I really appreciated. But definitely not intimidating in terms of size. Like you'll see people in dining halls that you haven't seen before. You'll wave on the quad when you're walking. It's just like a really homey environment.
Can you each tell us why you chose to go to Bowdoin?
Yeah, so I did Explore Bowdoin as well. And when I did it kind of the fall of my senior year, I really fell in love with kind of the campus and also the people. And what I noticed is that there's just a community sense at Bowdoin, and it was like maybe the third week of school being in session, and it felt like everyone knew each other. Like the first years, it just felt like they were part of this big family, and I think that's what I kind of wanted out of my college experience in terms of learning who I am, growing, and getting to meet like amazing people and learning from them. And so I think just like I had a gut feeling at that moment of like from doing Explore Bowdoin and just being able to like meet amazing people, whether they were prospective students, part of the program, or current students. Just knowing kind of that like I got the right vibes kind of thing, and so definitely chose to go to Bowdoin and never look back.
I knew that I wanted to get out of the city. I think that was a big thing that I talked about. And I think Maine is just a really unique place to go to college. So I wanted to bounce on the fact that I was able to go to a mid-coast Maine school that was really close to the coast because I love being near the water. Also, Bowdoin has amazing resources, opportunities, academics, and a really robust alumni connection. So I knew that that would help me kind of in the long term. And since I've been here, I've been so happy to be a part of this community, and I'm excited for the future.
All right. On that note, we're going to set Layla and Alex free. You all will hang out with Stefan and I. I promise we're just as fun. So let's wave bye to Layla and Alex. I know you can't actually see, we can't see you waving, but we felt it. We felt the spirit. So thank you. Thank you, Layla and Alex, for joining us. Have fun at Res Life.
Feel free to give our emails if people have personal questions.
Yes.
We're happy to answer anything.
Perfect. Will do.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. So, Stefan, it's just you and me. So I see a lot of questions just about the application for Explore, or the application process in general. So I want to just touch on those really quickly. The one I see right now is just submitting test scores make an applicant stand out. I'm assuming you mean that in terms of the regular round or the early decision rounds. I would say it depends, which you'll hear a lot from admissions folks. And I'm only saying it depends because we really evaluate you within your specific school context. And so that means that we're looking at your school profile and assessing whether you're outpacing your school, as we call it. So your school has your average testing for the entire senior class on their profile. And so are you testing beyond that? So it's not always just about whether you are falling within our specific testing range, but what does it look like to be testing in the place you're coming from? And that goes the same for taking different rigorous courses, getting involved in extracurriculars. We look at this all in the context of where a student is coming from. So the answer is yes and no, but I will say that not submitting testing will never be held against you. About a third of our students who apply are admitted and end up on campus do not submit any testing, so it's not something that we at all hold against you. So thank you for that question. Stefan, do you want to talk a bit about what you think separates Bowdoin from other NESCAC schools?
Definitely. I would say that our peer schools definitely have a lot going on, and I would say that we do as well. I guess one of the main things is, of course, we have so many rivalries when it comes to athletics. So if any of you are thinking about becoming an athlete at Bowdoin and thinking about what that would look like, we have so many different things to offer, 31 different varsity sports for you to choose from, volleyball, swimming. And then if you're thinking about intramural clubs and what you can do outside of just regular varsity sports, we have a national championship winning ultimate frisbee team that not many people know about, and people also don't know that we have a curling team as well. So there are so many different options and so many different ways to be involved that way. I would also say that our abundance of research opportunities definitely sets us apart. So students can do a variety of things, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, of studying abroad, or doing the Maine science semester, where you are just out at the Schiller Coastal Study Center for a whole semester, and that is where all of your classes are held, and you're just there doing hands-on things. That definitely sets us apart as well. But I would also say the main thing is community. You guys just met Alex and Layla, and many of the things that they said really do overlap with each other, of this idea that we all care about each other, and that the work that we do isn't limited to just the classroom. They do so much for us in the admissions office, and they care so much about Bowdoin and talking about it, that they were so eager and ready to talk to you guys about it. And so even as staff members, I think I can speak for Kyra by saying that we both really do care about what's going on at Bowdoin. We both really do care about the different events and the different programs that go on. And even though we're just in the admissions realm, we still do go outside of that in order to meet our colleagues, in order to meet other students. Everybody on our campus really does care. And not to say that the other schools don't care, but I think that having community as your base definitely does provide a strong foundation. Another question, Kyra, sorry, I don't want to take the questions away. Another question that I saw was a little bit of clarification about the graded paper. So I do want to say it verbally so everybody can see it, even though I did respond to that question specifically to that person. But I want to say that the graded paper can be any length that you choose, and it's not just for your senior year. It's for your high school career. So it could be any paper that you're proud of in your high school career, that you just have notes on, you have comments from your teacher, and you want to submit that in. That is what we are looking for, and that's what we're looking for the graded paper. Somebody mentioned it being typed. Yes, typed papers are great. Handwritten papers, people have scanned handwritten papers and then sent them in to us electronically as well. Send anything our way when it comes by the graded paper. But it's definitely a resource, and it's definitely been pretty cool to read all of your papers that you guys wrote about in high school, because who knows the different facts and the different research things that you did there. So that's just something I wanted to say verbally. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying that. For sure, we want you to have the information you need. So the next question we have is about what Bowdoin does to make the transition from high school to college not so overwhelming. I'm happy to take that one. And then we'll go into the question about diversity on campus, and I'll toss it back to Stefan. So in terms of what Bowdoin does to ease the transition, as I like to call it, many things. The first being that admissions is very actively involved in the handoff, as we call it, from when you're prospective students to admitted students to current students. And so we chat with the deans. We ensure they have the information they need to get you the resources you require. So whether that means that you should be encouraged to try the Center for Learning and Teaching, where we have writing tutors and data tutors. They're available for everyone on campus, but sometimes it's hard to know where to go to find help. And so we try to put those resources right in front of you. You are also assigned a first-year dean. They split the first-year class in half, and then they make it a point to meet with every single first year at least once a semester. You also have your first-year advisor who helps you with the academic transition, as well as checking in on how things are at home, checking in on how you're settling in socially, are you making friends, all of those pieces. In addition to that, you also have your residential life staff who are current students who are really tasked with ensuring that your first year floor feels like a community and feels like a place you can call home. So those upperclassmen are in place for you as well. There was a question about Greek life. We got rid of Greek life about 30 or so years ago and replaced it with the college house system, which is a group of sophomores who come together, about 200 or so across our 9 college houses, and they play a big role in ushering the first year class into the social scene. And so you'll be assigned upperclassmen at a college house, and they will work with your first year floor. They'll invite you to all their campus-wide events, whether that's bringing a speaker to campus or hosting a debate night or throwing a campus-wide party. So they're a source of support as well. You also have your admission staff who are always happy to be there for you. We have the Thrive office, which houses our summer bridge program. It houses our base advising, which is a bit more intentional. And so there are a lot of resources in place for that. And then beyond that, student activities does a great job with ensuring that you have things to do when you arrive. So before you even get here, they plan the first 2 weeks of events that will happen on campus, ranging from bringing different food trucks to doing activities in the craft center to doing music events. And so there's a lot going on always. And so we all kind of work together to ensure that you feel welcomed and feel like you belong and feel like this is a place you can call home when you first arrive. And along the lines of belonging, there was a question about what diversity looks like on campus. So Stefan, can you talk a bit about that?
Definitely. I think Kyra used the right word of intentional. I think the things that we do are intentional, and I would say that the programs and offices that we have are intentional as well, specifically when we think about diversity. So I would say that right around 35% of our campus are persons of color as well as persons with disabilities. And I use that number just to let you know that it's there. But this is a predominantly white institution, and so we definitely are looking to our students of color. We definitely have a lot of programs going on for them as well. We have a Center for Multicultural Life. We have the Center for Spirituality and Spiritual Life. We also have the Sexuality, Women's, and Gender Studies Center as well. All of those together make up a great resource and a great place that really is, not that the whole campus isn't accepting, but if you're looking for something in particular based on your own ethnicity, identity, however you identify, there is a place for you on our campus. And all of them put on great programs. I'm thinking back to last year when there were so many things going on, but one of them being the anniversary of the African American Studies Center, and all of the great initiatives and all of the great things that have happened at Bowdoin. And it brought back all of the old alumni of color to come back to our campus. There were galas, there was a music concert, there were diversity conversations about what it was like to be at Bowdoin, but also the way that we're looking to diversify in the future and really accepting different perspectives. There are so many different ways to get involved, and there are so many different things that our students were a part of. If we want to get a little bit broken down a little bit more, I would say that it even goes into our student clubs and organizations. We have a myriad of different clubs and organizations that get very specific. I was talking to a student today that was like, I didn't know that as an Indian student, I could be a part of a club for South Asian students, other South Asian students. And then another student was talking about, you even have a multiracial group on campus. And there are so many different accepting pieces and so many different support systems and other students that are in the same boat as you. And it's great to just be a part of that atmosphere and be a part of that environment. Kyra, I don't know if there's anything that I missed.
Absolutely. Just to add on to that, there were 2 different students who asked about how Bowdoin has been involved with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I do not want to ignore that. So I can address that, not quickly, but as succinctly as I can. So before the Black Lives Matter movement, I guess, reemerged these last few months, Bowdoin was already doing a series of dialogues called Bowdoin Dialogues, run through the Center for Multicultural Life. And so these are discussions based upon race, class, religion, to really get our current students to think about what it means to bring those identities to campus, what it means to have those identities in a larger society, and what it means to interact with people in a meaningful way. And so those conversations were already taking place. We also were already doing a What Matters dialogue series about different, I guess, hot button issues, you could call it. So one that I heard was incredibly moving was the one on gun control, just because these talks can be attended by current students, staff, faculty, and Brunswick residents. And so I think it was eye-opening for a lot of students just to see the range of perspectives present in such a small place. In terms of what Bowdoin has been doing directly right now in this moment, over the summer, our president thought long and hard about Bowdoin's place in the world and what we can be doing to lend our voice and also lend our dollars. And so there was a moment, I believe that might have been in April or May, when the college was matching donations up to $100 per person to a series of organizations dedicated to supporting the movement. So some were national organizations like the NAACP, and others were Maine specific. So we wanted to make an impact both nationally and locally. And so that was one way of doing it. We also hosted a series of not brainstorming spaces, but safe spaces, I guess you could call them, for Black students and students of color in particular to come together and feel like they had a place to really air out how they're feeling. It's the summer, we've been apart for a while, and so giving them the space to do that. We also held discussions with alums, both of color and not, to really talk about the impact they're having in the world today and things of those nature. In terms of moving forward, we have an 18-month plan in place that our president has put together with members of our inclusion and diversity team on campus to ensure that we are moving forward and moving the needle on what it looks like to not only be a Black student on campus, but to be a student who you could say a college is not built for. And so what does that look like moving forward? Does that mean ensuring that every office across campus does bias trainings each year? Does that mean ensuring that we make sure the conversation doesn't stop? What does that look like across each department academically and on the student activities and the involvement side? Does that mean that we are intentional about what speakers we bring to campus? So there's a lot in motion right now, and we want to make sure we're doing things intentionally again and doing them well. And so I think it can be frustrating at times that change isn't happening super quickly, but I think we're a place that wants to change and do better. And so our president is really taking the lead on that, not just with what he's doing with our money and our budget financially, but also how he is trying to ensure that all of our students feel seen and welcomed on campus. So definitely wanted to address that. Anything to add, Stefan?
No, I think you got it. I think that was very eloquent. Thank you.
Thank you. I try. There was a question about Greek life. I think I pretty much addressed that. So let's see.
I see another one that is thinking about registering for interviews for Bowdoin. I think I want to add that one of the perks I didn't mention is being able to have the opportunity to, at Explore Bowdoin, when you are accepted onto the Explore Bowdoin program, you are able to have private Explore Bowdoin sessions held for you and your family for student aid. If you want to talk to one of our student aid counselors, there are special times built in for you to be able to do so. But also that also goes for the interview with the staff members. So these interviews, you'll once again have an interview slot specifically for Explore Bowdoin. And so if you want to be a part of any of that, you can do that through the program. But if you're thinking about getting an interview before Explore, you can definitely do that on our website. If you go to the admissions page and then go to connect virtually, there are opportunities for you to pick whatever day that you want to come visit with a admissions counselor, maybe even a Bowdoin alum. You can talk to one of them, or even one of our senior interviewers, our senior student interviewers, and you can do all of that on the Connect Virtually page.
Perfect. Thank you. So there are a few more questions about identity I do want to touch on. The first is about LGBTQ resources on campus, which I will cover. And then Stefan, can you talk about whether there's a divide between athletes and non-athletes when I wrap up?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So in terms of resources for our LGBTQ plus students, there is a street on campus called College Street. And so the resources on that street include 24 College, or SWAG, which is our Sexuality, Women's, and Gender Center. And that office is run by Kate Stern and Rachel Ranke, and they put on different programming for students who are in the LGBTQ plus community, and also those who want to learn more about it, those who want to be better allies, be better advocates. And so they do a lot of programming for that. And they also are advisors for a lot of our queer identity-based groups. So there's a group for those who identify as asexual and aromantic. There's a group for bisexual women on campus. There's a group for really anyone who wants to explore that portion of their identity. They do work closely also with other places, specifically those on College Street. So if you're moving down the street, next to 24 College is 30 College. And that is our Center for Multicultural Life, which houses the Rachel Lord Center for Spiritual and Religious Life, which we touched on earlier. And that is run by Eduardo Pasos Palma, and he also works directly with all undocumented and DACA students. And so if you have questions about that, we can drop this information as well. And then that also houses our Multicultural Center. And so at this moment, that center is being run by myself and my co-director, Felix. And so we are working with all of the affinity groups on campus. And I'm doing some work in particular with Women of Color Coalition, first generation students, and with an intergroup dialogue for students of color to just come together and really assess and break down what it means to really bring your whole self to a space like Bowdoin. So I wanted to touch on that. And then also on that street is the John B. Russwurm Africana Studies House, or BSU is what they changed their name to, so the Black Student Union. That house is also on campus, and John B. Russwurm was the first Black student to attend Bowdoin. I hope that answered your question. Feel free to ask me something else if it didn't. But Stefan, do you want to talk about the athlete, non-athlete divide and whether there is one?
Yes, I would say that there isn't one. A lot of our students definitely echo this idea of being collaborative. All of our students work together very well, and many of them are really open to different perspectives and different ways of thinking. There have been many a time where I have heard students who weren't really interested in sports at all say, you know what, I think I want to join the rowing team, and then end up on the rowing team. And one of the best rowers on the rowing team was actually one of the students in our admissions office who was like, I've never done a sport before, but I'm good at this one. And they're really accepted. I would say that all of our students are really accepting, no matter what sport, club, organization you're a part of. There isn't a divide. Everyone really works together. And I think I would say that there is no divide, in my opinion.
Perfect. Thank you. Let's see. There's a question about the optional video response. Can you talk about what that is, what that requires, what we look for?
Yes. So the video response is a part of the regular or early decision application. And so that's great. That's a great opportunity for students who maybe you did an interview, maybe you didn't do an interview, maybe you visited campus, maybe you didn't visit campus. Regardless, you do have the option to submit a video response. The video response is a quick 2-minute video. Kind of like the interaction that we're having right now. A question will be put up, and it might be something like, what's the nicest thing that you did this week? And the question will pop up. You get 30 seconds to go ahead and think about what you want to say, and then the video will come on, and then that's when you have to respond to your question. It's really, and you get to do that twice. So if you mess up on the first one, you get the second one, but the second one gets sent off, so you get 2 tries. But I think it's very similar to if you're having a conversation. If you were to interview with me and then I ask you a question, you then will answer it. It's just a conversation. And so you're having that with a camera, and then it gets sent and added to your application. It's just another great way to be able to say, hey, I'm interested in Bowdoin, but also I want you to learn a little bit more about me through this little question and answer portion that's offered. So it is optional, just like many of our supplemental things that we allow. I saw a question for that as well, so I'll touch on that briefly. The additional supplements that you're able to do are if you are interested in music and you have some music videos that you want to be able to give to us. Let's say maybe you're playing the cello in your orchestra, and then there's another video of you doing a solo. That's a great thing to see. Maybe you're an artist and you want to show an art portfolio. That's another thing. Maybe you're an actor and you want to perform a monologue for us as well. That's another thing that we appreciate. It's always good to know that we as admissions counselors are not the ones looking at it. It's going to the arts faculty who are very interested in learning about the incoming class and what they have to offer and the things that they're interested in. And so they look at all of that great stuff, and they tell us a little bit more about it. I see somebody does play cello in the audience. I knew you were here. That's why I said it. But it's just another great way to show your interest, but also show your talents. It's not required at all. So if you do play an instrument and you want to provide a music supplement, but you won't be doing music as an interest or as a major, totally fine. It's still great to have it in your application just to really fill it all the way out, and really show us a little bit more about you as a student and outside of the classroom.
Thank you. Perfect. There's a question about how Bowdoin has prepared for the pandemic. I'm happy to give it a shot. So in many ways, if we want to back up all the way to March, we can start there. So first and foremost, we had to get students off campus, as all colleges and universities had to do. And so we had funding in place to help those students who couldn't afford to fly back to their home residences without some type of financial burden. And so that was in place. We also removed the work study and the summer work contribution from our aid packages this year. And so all of that money was replaced with grant money that students did not have to pay back. And so students who are on aid at the college will not have a work study requirement or have the summer contribution fee for this year. Along those lines, we also provided a stipend for our students. So we realized we're sending you home. That means an extra mouth to feed. That means lights may be on longer. And so students received a stipend to offset that a bit. Also for this academic year as well, each student, every single current student on campus received an iPad. They also received a keyboard and they received a stylus to go with it to ensure that they had the materials they needed to do the work we're requiring of them remotely. And if students did not have good internet access or didn't have it at all, Bowdoin was willing to pay for them to get that internet service provided at their home, which I think was one of the biggest things we did this year outside of the aid packages. In addition to that, typically faculty have the summer to do research, do whatever they want, but this year they were required to be in several trainings to ensure that, one, the syllabi remained diverse and brought a lot of perspectives in, but also ensure that they knew what they were doing when the time came for remote learning to take place. And that decision was not made lightly. And so there were several working groups and committees and people from all areas of the college who came together to think about the different scenarios that we might want to consider for this year. And we ultimately landed on a somewhat hybrid remote model. And so first years are on campus currently, along with residential life staff, seniors who are doing an honors thesis that require a lab because you can't get those resources easily at home, and also about 100 or so students for whom being at home and doing remote work is a challenge for one reason or another. So about 700 students are on campus and the other 1,300 are in their respective homes around the world. I think that's a pretty lengthy answer. And lastly, I would just say students and staff on campus are being tested twice a week for the coronavirus, and we receive our results within 24 hours. So we are monitoring very closely to ensure the safety and the health of our community, but also the community where Bowdoin is located. We don't want bringing students back to be a health concern for Brunswick residents and those in the surrounding areas. So we kept that in mind as well. So I get tested on Tuesdays and Thursdays. My roommate gets tested Mondays and Fridays. So we get test results back literally every day of the week. And right now, students, I believe, are still being tested 3 times a week, and they'll switch over to twice a week on the 14th. So taking it quite seriously.
And the good thing is it's not the intrusive nasal swab. It's just right there on the surface of the nostrils. So don't worry about the number of the tests. It's not harmful in any way, from what I hear.
It's not bad at all. It's very quick, very straightforward, to the point. You can wash your hands, sanitize, in and out in like 3 minutes. Not bad at all. So I see some more questions about the application process. Happy to answer those. A lot are really about whether attendance on the Explore program impacts admission to the college. Do you want to cover that? Should I cover that? We both can, but I'll start. All right, go for it. The application process for Explore Bowdoin does not impact the application process to attend Bowdoin. I say that just to say if you unfortunately may not be able to be selected to be a part of the Explore Bowdoin program, that is not the be-all end-all of your ability to attend Bowdoin. Those application processes are separate, and the decisions on those will be separate. So there is the possibility of maybe you're not able to come to Explore Bowdoin, but you definitely do get into Bowdoin. Those are just different scenarios that I'm throwing out there, but just to really illustrate the difference between the two of them. That's what I want to say. Yeah, if I were to add anything, I would just say that we do recognize if you have done the program, and so we understand you've already been through the application process. We understand that you've spent some time with us, gotten to know us, and so it will never hurt you to have done the program. And so that's something I do want to point out. We'll know you, we understand who you are, we've gotten to interact with you a bit, and so that is always a good sign or a good thing to do with colleges you are interested in. We are a bit low on time, but I do want to answer this because I'm very excited about it. And we can both talk a bit about how Explore Bowdoin works remotely, since we are rolling it out next week. you seem thrilled, so I'll let you start.
Definitely. So we are starting off the week by just welcoming everybody, and we do maybe a sneak peek of a writing exercise, just because I know that a lot of students are thinking about their personal statements or thinking about how to build an effective resume and really trying to figure out what an activities list look like, or how do you really advocate for yourself in that way. So we touch on those kinds of things. We also have the mentoring, which is a great opportunity for you to meet other students who are on the program with you, but also get to talk to an admissions counselor and have those real conversations of what an application process looks like, or maybe the things and the resources that you have been exposed to. You will meet so many people from so many different departments. I'm so excited about that. So you'll meet, like I said before, the first year deans. You'll meet with the career exploration and development team. You'll meet with other people who can talk to you about studying abroad opportunities, and most importantly, what it's like to be a student at Bowdoin. How do you find a space for yourself with us? How do you be an individual? How do you be independent now that you're in college or coming to college? What does that feel like? All of those conversations are held, and you also get to meet so many people in the admissions office, but also all over our campus as well.
That covered a lot of it. I think the other pieces I would say I'm excited for are definitely the ones our interns have worked really hard on. So they've put together a Q&A with current students who have attended the program in the past. They've put together a dance workshop with one of our dance groups on campus. They've put together some office hours activities they're thrilled to roll out. So they'll be doing a game night with students, and they will be hosting a discussion called Real Talk, during which they will just give an unfiltered version of their Bowdoin experiences, where Stefan and myself will not be present. And so you will get all the details about what it's like to attend Bowdoin from two seniors who have seen and done it all. And so I think those are the pieces I'm very, very excited about. I think we have time for one more question. While I'm looking for that, Stefan, can you drop your contact info in the chat?
I will.
I can see it. Perfect. All right. Let's see. All right.
I'll put yours too.
I think I put mine. So our last question, if you do have others, we are putting our email so that you can get those answers. We know we can't get to all of them tonight, and we want to be very aware of the time we're asking from you today. So our last question will be, what is your favorite Bowdoin tradition? Do you want me to start, Stefan?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. I think I'm going to give two answers, and I know that's cheating, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Got it.
So my first would be the annual lobster bake. Now, this is weird because I don't get to attend, but it looks really fun. So basically, after summer break is over and everyone's back, this is the first campus-wide event where everyone's back together. And so all the upperclassmen are on campus. Everyone who's been abroad is back. The first year they're there. And so it's kind of like a big family reunion. And also you get a whole lobster, which is kind of cool. And you also get instructions on how to break down said lobster. If you do not like lobster, are allergic to lobster, don't want anything to do with lobster, there are, of course, other options for eating. But it's just a really cool back to school type of cookout vibe that I think is really fun. My other favorite tradition would probably be, I'm trying not to say another food one. So I'll say Common Good Day, just because the common good is such a big part of who we are and our identity as a campus. And so it typically occurs the second Saturday of each year. And it's a day when about 600 or so Bowdoin volunteers, so students, faculty, staff, basically descend across the state of Maine and do various service projects. And this basically launches into all of our volunteering opportunities for the year. So students will continue going back to those organizations or working with other ones throughout the course of the year. And also excited, and they will do Common Good Day in their respective cities. So I think it's just a really big, like, Bowdoin-y type of activity to participate in. And you get a cool t-shirt. Okay, I'm done.
That's fine, because I'm going to talk about food. So one thing that you guys will learn about me in the Explore Bowdoin program, or just in general, is I'm a big food person. So my favorite Bowdoin tradition is this thing called the Bowdoin log. don't worry, I'll tell you what it is. It is basically, it's very simple, but when it's done, it's like, yes. It's a roll of vanilla ice cream, right? Right. And then they roll it in crushed Oreos, like finely crushed Oreos just there on the surface. And then they drill it with chocolate sauce. And they only happen, or you only really see them at large events or fancy events that we have at Bowdoin, because it's not really often that you see a Bowdoin log or get to have one. But when you have them, you really you feel really good after eating them. And they really, it's not very often that a school has a special dessert or a special frozen novelty named after it. So that's one of the things that I really like. And it's been a tradition for a while. So that's what I want to say. Well, thank you all for joining us. It's been great. Meet of you, and please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. I put in our colleague Jackie Sue. We are only 2/3 of the Explore Bowdoin team. Jackie is definitely a big help with the Explore Bowdoin program, and she's so excited to meet many of you as well. So she sends all of her positivity and all of her excitement to you as well. But please reach out to us if you have any questions. If your question was not answered with the time today, please reach out. We're always available, especially being remote. We have a lot of time virtually. So go ahead and send us an email, but also has included the interns as well. So if you want more of a student perspective and your question didn't get answered, email them and they will be the interns to join you during Explore, so you'll see them again. But I guess from me, I say thank you for joining us. Good night. And we hope to see you soon on Explore.
Ditto. Thank you so much for joining us. Get those emails from the chat, copy and paste them onto your desktop, write them down. I'm stalling a bit so you have time to do those things. But thank you much for coming out. Shoot some questions to the Explore inbox if you have questions about the application process in particular. Email myself, Stefan, Jackie, as Stefan already said. And we're really excited for what we have planned for remote or virtual Explore Bowdoin this year. So we hope you'll be excited and want to apply and hang out with us as well. And with that, we will bid you farewell. Enjoy the rest of your evenings. So nice speaking to you all.